Jai Sriman Narayan. Jai Sriman Narayan. Jai Sriman Narayan. I pay my obeisances to my spiritual master, Srimad Jagat Guru Sudarshan Acharyaji Maharaj. I pay my obeisances to Lord Sri Ramanuj. I pay my obeisances to the Purva Acharyas. I pay my obeisances to the 12 Alvars. I pay my obeisances to Mother Lakshmi, and I pay my obeisances to Lord Sriman Narayan. I welcome Lord Sriman Narayan in his form as Lord Sri Krishna on this, the third day of the Sri Krishna Janmashtami week, here at the Sri Narayan Dham in Durban, South Africa. I welcome those that are present here physically, and I welcome those that's watching this discourse locally, nationally and internationally. I welcome in advance those that's going to be watching this discourse when it is posted on YouTube and the various groups from around the world. So we said that the 4th of August was auspicious as it started the Sri Krishna Janmashtami week. The 5th of August was auspicious as the foundation for the Sri Raam Mandir that was in a great controversy. There was a lot of pain and suffering. Many devotees of Lord Sri Raam perished in the pursuit of establishing the Mandir and the birthplace of Lord Sri Raam at Ayodhya. A small particle to this great auspiciousness in this week, a very small particle, but auspicious in itself, was that on this day, the 6th of August 2013, at the Sri Siddhartha Ashram in India, Guru Ma blessed myself, Mataji and Sean Singh to start satsangs in South Africa. At that point in time, her younger son, Madhusudan Acharyaji, was the president of the Sri Siddhartha Ashram, the legal entity, and he gave us his blessings as well. There's a post that I shared on Facebook today recounting this momentous moments in our life which has changed indelibly the understanding of Sanatana Dharma internationally in just 7 years. This moment and this interaction has had a direct impact on expounding the absolute truth of Sanatana Dharma as instructed to me by my spiritual master, Swami Sudarshan Acharyaji Maharaj. These photographs are spiritually self-evident in that you will see our entire family receiving darshan by Guru Ma and Guruji in his form as pure consciousness. For these photographs, both inside Guru Ma's abode and outside on the veranda when we bowed down to Madhusudan Acharya, these photographs, 5 of them are misty. Photographs a few minutes before and a few minutes after has no mist on it. So this mistiness in the photograph was only when we were officially granted permission by Guru Ma to start satsang and Guru Seva in South Africa, and when we received Madhusudan Acharya's blessings as the president of the Sri Starter Ashram. So this is a very, very auspicious day. This day is the birth of the Sri Narayan Dham. The 6th of August 2013, whilst we were at the ashram, then this is our spiritual birth as a spiritual entity, the 6th of August 2013. 6th of August 2017, exactly on this day, we were in Mathura and Vrindavan, India. Vasudeva, Melissa and myself. On this day, we took a ride on a boat across the river Yamuna. Across the river Yamuna. And in all my humility, I asked Lord Sri Krishna to give an indication of his potency whilst we were crossing the river. Not to test him, but to be enveloped on this spiritually potent river during the time of Lord Sri Krishna. I felt that he will fulfill my request. And I made this request known to both Melissa and Vasudeva. And I wanted to feel Lord Sri Krishna dancing on the hood of the great serpent on this river. And we sang the mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I reposted this video, which was done live whilst we were on the river, as a memory today. So those who even Vishwadar Ramanuj Das can send links of the photographs where we got darshan from Guruji in the form of a mist, and 4 years later, on the river Yamuna, we experienced Lord Sri Krishna's Leela, a fraction of a second of Lord Sri Krishna's Leela. This brother that was rowing this boat has rowed this boat across this river hundreds of thousands of times. That's his job. When I made this request, then immediately there was a current underneath our boat. Chris, go see what's making a noise in the back. There was a current underneath our boat, and the boatman could not row or steer this boat anymore. And he looked around in amazement as to why he could not overcome the resistance that was offered on the water. And this look of amazement is captured on this video, or some. His routine, which he does thoughtlessly year in and year out, was hampered because I requested from Lord Sri Krishna a small indication that our presence on the Yamuna river should be acknowledged by himself. So the 6th of August has another spiritual significance. 6th of August 2018, I was on my way to Faridabad prior to the 6th of August. And suddenly our journey was diverted to Hyderabad, and we celebrated Sri Krishna Janmashtami at Chinnajaya Swami's ashram in Hyderabad, not on the 6th, but in August itself. So I wanted to bring forth all these auspicious days in relation to the Sri Narayan Dham in this one discourse. Then 6th of August is also another Krishna's birthday. Okay, so I wish you a happy birthday, Krishna, in bracket sugars. Okay, and you can see, sugars, how many important things happened to the Guru on this particular date relative to this ashram. Well, I think I'm going against what I stated yesterday, that in this week we won't be telling stories, and I don't believe this is a story that I told you. It's an absolute truth as it happened, and for some reason it became apparent to me today when I was sharing my memories. And I said that it is imperative that I disclose this on this discourse. So I've stated that as the universe is a laboratory for the Supreme Lord, the Sri Narayan Dham is a laboratory for the Guru. And in order for the Guru to instruct his disciples to live within certain parameters, it would be defeating the objects of the Guru having an ashram and living contrary to his own teachings. So the Guru never lives in contradiction to his own teachings. You might view or perceive the Guru to be living in contradiction of his own teachings if you are stuck in a particular dimension at a particular point in time. But conclusively, the Guru, a bona fide spiritual master, cannot live in contradiction with his own teachings. And from time to time, Lord Sriman Narayan throws obstacles in front of the Guru. The Devis and Devtas throw obstacles in front of the Guru. The demons throw obstacles in front of the Guru. And my own spiritual master, Swami Sudarshan Acharyaji Maharaj, throws a few obstacles here and there. So the Guru's life is not as blissful as you perceive, notwithstanding the fact that the Guru lives outside the parameters in terms of attachment to his material body. The Guru teaches, and if one cannot grasp the teachings of the Guru, then there will be no success in the life of that aspirant. If anyone argues on the instruction of a Guru, if anyone contradicts or contravenes the instructions of a Guru, then the Lord switches off. And the aspirant becomes rudderless. So it is imperative, Guru-disciple relationship is lifelong. One would not need a Guru if one knew everything. And one would not need a Guru if one is always right. And one would not need a Guru if it's my way or no way. So these qualities initially have to be subdued and ultimately have to be obliterated. And to assist in understanding these principles, we have the Guru Gita, and I think Mataji has given everybody a copy. If she has not, and somebody do not have a copy, then I have a few copies in my kutir. Going against the teachings of a Guru is in itself a very, very, very great offense. And it is listed in the top 3 amongst the 10 offenses in Sanatana Dharma. And I think you can offend the Supreme Lord, He will take it in His stride. But if you offend the Guru, then there's going to be trouble. As Lord Shiva himself states in the Guru Gita, when Lord Shiva is upset, the Guru can pacify you. But when the Guru is upset, then even Lord Shiva cannot pacify you. And these are absolute, conclusive verses. These are mantras. These mantras are there to guide mankind. And the greatest problem in mankind is that when you try to correct mistakes, then people get upset. And it is a job of a bona fide spiritual master to correct mistakes of his family and his aspirants equally. In fact, when a guru becomes bona fide, then everyone becomes simply aspirants. And I myself at the Sri Narayan Dham, many have witnessed that I run this organization as per my teachings. And my teachings are really not mine, but the Lord's teachings. And I am strict in keeping within the parameters of the Vedas, whether they're my biological family or whether they are aspirants. This is the intervention, or one of the interventions, that Lord Sri Krishna discusses in the Bhagavad Gita. And I want to conclude by reading a text when I opened the Bhagavad Gita today. Remember, I do not research a discourse. I never have. In my 7 years, because discourses cannot be researched. Discourses are revealed to a bona fide spiritual master that sits on a Vyasasana. So, I do not research discourses. Whatever I state through the grace of my Guru, and whatever message I give to the world, then it is through the grace of my Guru and the Sri Ramanuj Parampara. So when I opened the Bhagavad Gita, the very first verse that caught my eye will conclude tonight's discourse. And the verse is, chapter 6, verse 6. So today is the 6th of August, and I explained a whole lot of auspicious dates in the past of the 6th of August, and chapter 6 and also verse 6 was revealed today. And I'm reading chapter 6, verse 6 of the Sri Ramanuj Gita Bhashya. The mind is the friend of him by whom the mind has been conquered. But for him whose mind is not conquered, the mind, like an enemy, remains hostile. And there is a verse in the commentary by sage Parasara who speaks the Vishnu Puran, and I quote, he says, "The mind of man is the cause both of his bondage and his release. Its addiction to sense object is the cause of his bondage. Its separation from sense objects is a means of one's release." So I want to conclude by stating that when the soul is conjoined with the material body has senses and a mind. And the mind, through the senses, gets attached to the object of the senses. And this attachment causes desire and hate of the soul, which is a quality of the soul activated by the soul being conjoined with the material mind and the material senses. So the soul is the agent that experiences pleasure and pain, and it is also the agent of desire and hatred. So when the mind is attached to the sense objects, then it perpetuates its desires and its hatred. And when it perpetuates desire and hatred, from desire, anger is born. From desire, anger is born. And from anger, lust is born. And from lust, greed is born. When all these desires cannot be fulfilled, then one is very, very upset. And this we experience within ourselves, within our children, within our friends, within our relatives, and within our aspirants. So my message will be tonight, to quell your desire and quell your hatred. Because desire and hatred is the substratum on which bondage takes place and karmas get accrued. To reverse the process of karma, it means we must have no desires that will be detrimental to us, and we must have no hatred for anyone. We must love our greatest enemy. And when you start the process of love, the poison of hatred starts leaving your own body. Because when you hate, that person or persons or things or activities that you hate are not affected by your hatred. Only you are affected by your hatred, because the vessel of hatred within you fills up. And it is self-inflicting. On one hand, it poisons you, and on the other hand, it binds you karmically, so the next lifetime you'll be born with desire and hatred. And this is the cycle: desire, hatred, desire, hatred, desire, hatred. So, Lord Sri Krishna, in his 700 verses, explains the science of man. And this is the absolute science of a human, and you yourself can witness first and then experience. All those people that come to ashram that belongs to various gurus, when they leave their desire and hatred, the problem is the same. Desire and hatred does not resolve your external problems. But when desire and hatred is deleted from your system, you have a divine way of handling those obstacles that are still prevalent. You have a divine way of understanding and successfully navigating in between obstacles with absolute happiness and bliss. And this is what Lord Sri Krishna has taught Arjuna throughout the Bhagavad Gita. Forget desire, forget hatred, forget anger, forget lust, forget greed. Remove all this poison from you. Once you pluck out all these seeds of this poison, then you become simply divine. Poison will attract poison, and divinity will attract divinity. You'll notice all people of one kind, there's a saying, birds of a feather flock together. And this is why I asked you all sugars to plant a tree together, because I wanted all these birds, all these feathers of the Acharya bird to flock together. That is why I asked you to do the decor on Sunday, because I want all, if the divine mix with the divine, then divinity will be tenfold. You understand? So, Lord Sri Krishna states in chapter 4, verse 34, surrender to a guru. Surrender means hands up, sugars. When you chase in a criminal and you tell him stop, surrender, what he does? Hands up. Then what he must do? Turn around. Then he must allow himself to be handcuffed, and he must come into your custody. So I'm asking all my aspirants, put your hands up and don't handcuff, mouth cuff. Don't handcuff, mouth cuff, and come into the Guru's custody. And if you are mouth cuffed, and why are you laughing, Devasni? First time you heard of the same. If you are mouth cuffed and you come to the Guru's custody, then you are surrendered. If you are not mouth cuffed, and how can you be in the Guru's custody? Because the Vedas is absolute, and Lord Sri Krishna is absolute, and he is saying, surrender and come into the custody of the Guru. So when a prisoner comes into your custody, sugars? Does he have tea any time of the day? Does he have freedom all the time? So similarly, if you want to be an aspirant, and if you do not fall within the protocol of verse 34, of chapter 4, verse 34, then you're not in surrender, you're not mouth cuffed, you're not in the custody of the Guru, then you are not an aspirant. Sugars, if you point your firearm and you tell somebody to surrender, and he does not put his hand up, he runs away, you cannot catch him, is that person in your custody? Not in your custody. Can you call that person a prisoner? Just by you pointing the gun, and if the person didn't come into your custody, that person cannot be your prisoner. Similarly, when you bow down to the Guru and you say you have surrendered, but you are not in the custody of the Guru, then you are like that prisoner. You have not surrendered and you are not under the custodianship of the Guru. So these are important aspects that have to be followed, and Lord Sri Krishna is here on day 3, and it is absolutely necessary for all who is listening to this discourse to do an internal analysis. And try to follow within the parameters of what the Guru teaches. Once again, Krishna, I want to wish you a happy birthday. You want to surrender? You want to be in the Guru's custody? You are. Yeah, unlike you, I don't whack my prisoners. I don't torture my prisoners. But I think I torture them with love and scripture. Jai Shri Narayan.